Hello everyone and welcome to the Macquarie University webinar for the Master of Banking and Finance, discussing careers of the future in banking and finance. My name is Rita and I'm a Macquarie University alumna in Sydney, Australia. I have with me today Professor Deebu, who is the Program Director for the Master of Banking and Finance in the Macquarie Business School. So today we'll be running you through information about career opportunities in banking and finance, the degree structure in our new Master of Banking and Finance, and I'll be talking to Deebu today about the questions that we have. So yes, I guess we'll just get started with, can you introduce yourself and tell us how you got into teaching banking and finance at Macquarie University?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Deebu. I'm the course director for both Master of Finance and Master of Banking Finance since the beginning of the last year. Today, I'm happy to be here to share some information of these two programs with you guys. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. First of all, I would like to introduce you guys a bit of information about the two master programs delivered by our department. The first one is the one-year master program. It's called the Master of Finance. Okay, as the second one is a two-year master program. It's called Master of Banking Finance. We'll start from Master of Banking Finance. So Master of Banking Finance, we have three specializations. The first one is the environmental finance. The second one is the fintech. The third one is financial management. And the first specialization is called environmental finance. So the purpose we introduce the environmental finance is that at the moment, you can see that in Sydney, the bushfires, the air pollutions, all of those are caused by the climate change, right? Or global warming, right? So this is a big issue, not only in finance, economics, and in all subjects, right? So we have to, definitely in finance, we have to incorporate those environmental issues in for the decision making. So we introduced a new specializations called environmental finance. Okay, so in the environmental finance, we're gonna teach you four key units, essential units. The first one is risk management and derivatives, and the second one is environmental finance. The third one is business global environmental change, and the third one is the business valuation. So the main difference between the environmental finance and the more traditional finance is that, because as you know, if you have a bit of background of finance, you know that when you assess a project, definitely we do the net present value analysis, right? That's for the more traditional project analysis. But with the environmental finance, we do need to take environmental issues into consideration. So when you evaluate a project, you have also need to take the environmental issues related to this project into consideration. So when you discount the future cash flows, you have to consider the environmental costs, right? So this is the main difference between environmental finance and the more traditional finance. Okay, so that's the first specializations. And the second one is the fintech. If we can go to the fintech. So the main units we're gonna deliver with the fintech specialization is fintech innovation and the financial data analysis, and then payments, cryptocurrencies and blockchain. And the fourth one is the digital finance, right? Most of the units are the cutting edge units and very practical units. Okay, you can see that. So in our units offered in the Master of Banking Finance, they're not the only theoretical units. So we're trying to make those units more practical. For example, the data analysis, right? So we will teach students different computer languages such as Python, R, MATLAB, right? But the course is not teach you how to basically program, but instead we teach students how to analyze the real data set with the different programs, right? So with this knowledge, you can definitely in the future, you can definitely use this knowledge to analyze the real data set in the company, in the industry, right? So this is a fintech. And the last specializations is financial management. And the financial management one is more traditional specializations. We designed the units highly in line with the exam, the CFA exams. Okay, the materials will be covered in the CFA exams. Okay, the first key unit is called risk management and derivatives. Second one is fixed income and credit analysis, alternative securities, and then portfolio management. So you can see that if you had a bit of experience of the CFA exams, you will see those key units covered in financial management will be highly in line with the materials in the CFA examinations. So those are the three specializations will be introduced in 2020. So again, Master of Banking Finance is a two-year master programs. Okay, and in addition to a two-year master programs, we also introduce a one-year master program, which is called the Master of Finance. Okay, with the Master of Finance, you do need to have some business-related background. So, for example, if you want to apply for the Master of Finance, so it's better to have a business-related undergraduate certificate or diploma, for example, right? Or alternatively, you would need to have at least a 3-year working experience for applying a Master of Finance. Okay, and the Master of Finance, in the Master of Finance, we also deliver a bit of materials in fintech and environmental finance. So from the key units, you can see that we teach fintech and innovation, right? And also environmental finance, right? It's a bit of a combination of the traditional and the cutting edge finance, right? So those two programs are currently the programs we offer in the master level in Department of Finance.
It sounds so wonderful. We have so many innovative and very practical choices for students to study finance these days. So are there any internship or any research project components in the degrees?
Yes, sure. Especially for our Master of Banking Finance, we have a unit called Internship in Finance. So in that unit, we offer students opportunities to work in the industry, related industry, either the local banks or local insurance companies, right? So we provide the students a 2 months opportunities to work in the team in the local companies. And and also for the assessment, we will ask the company to provide the students a real case. Right, so we just provide the students a work environment, a real work experience or work environment to the students, so they know what's the exactly what the industry wants, right? Instead of the knowledge based on all the theories taught in the university. So it will provide the students a very different experience. So this is a unit called Finance Internship. And in addition to that, actually, basically for most of our units, for example, like the current issues in banking finance or research in banking finance, our course conveners normally will invite 1 or 2 guest lecturers from industry. Like the one I taught last semester is called the financial management. It's called financial statement and modeling. I invited 2 guest lecturers, one from KPMG and one from a senior accountant, just from the what's that called? From it's a top 30 list companies. Just the one that's opposite. There is a Cohere. Yeah, that one just opposite. I invited 2 guest lecturers, and to interact with the students. So
wow.
in the class, students can definitely ask whatever they want to know. So what exactly the industry needs.
They get exposed to industry professionals,
Yeah.
can network with professionals
Yeah.
working where they get advice from them, get
exactly.
connections to get jobs afterwards.
Yeah.
So in terms of, I think you mentioned that you inviting people for industry across the street to go to Macquarie.
Yeah.
So it's so good to note that Macquarie campus actually located in the Macquarie University, the Macquarie Business Park, which has over 300 companies and it's the biggest, biggest growing business park in Sydney.
Yeah.
So the chance for students to be exposed to real companies, real work projects are very high.
Exactly.
Yes. In terms of what do you think are the key skills that the Master of Banking and Finance and the Master of Finance are teaching students to make sure that they actually are employable after they graduate?
As we just discussed, the programs offered in our department in Macquarie University are very practical.
Yep.
As not only theoretical units, we also invite different people from very diversified backgrounds and to share the experience to the students. And then we not only teach those students theories, but we try very hard to expose students to the real work environment, right? And also we teach students very practical computing programs, and teach them how to analyze the real data set, etc. So it's I think the key feature of our programs is a combination of theory and practice.
Skills.
Yes, exactly.
And I think you also mentioned that they can actually analyze real data set in their assignments, in their projects. We have a finance decision lab on campus.
Oh, yes. Yeah, exactly.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
I think the decision lab was built at the beginning of last year. It's a very new facilities. We have more than 30. It's called what's that called? It's called can't remember the data source name. Bloomberg.
It's from Bloomberg. Yes.
It's from
the real
Bloomberg.
Market intelligence actually come from Bloomberg.
Exactly. So we do have 30 terminals, and a student in the class, students can analyze, for example, stock price and fixed income as a security price in the real time.
From real market updates,
from real time.
And it's a beautiful facility located just right on campus. It's a great place for students to actually do practical projects with real data sources coming from the market.
And also all the computers are installed with different computing languages like Python, R. So our lecturer will teach students how to use these different computing languages to analyze the real data set.
That sounds incredible. So how many hours would students roughly be spending in class every week?
For each class, for each unit, the contact hours is 3 hours.
3 hours.
So basically 2 hours, 2 hours plus 2 hour teaching hours plus 1 tutorial.
Yes. Okay.
So it's 3 hours.
And they'll be doing about 4 units every semester. So we're about 12 hours in class in total every week, and plus probably about 20 hours plus more of self-study that
I would
do at home.
I would suggest at least 20 hours of self-study time for the students if you want to get a good results. That's very important.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very important. If you go to the so if you want to find a good job, the first thing the employer will look is your transcript.
Yes.
So I would say it's very important.
Awesome. And I think you mentioned briefly earlier about the CFA program and how one of the majors actually relates to CFA units that they need to study for the exams. So can you elaborate more on that? If our students want to do the CFA exams after their degree, or while they're doing their degree, what are the options?
Yeah, sure. Actually, we are still discussing with the CFA committee. And hopefully in 2020, the Master of Finance program will be accredited by CFA. So that which means all our units offered by Master of Finance will be highly related to the level 1 CFA examinations. So in CFA examinations, there are five topics, right? Economics, accounting, finance, marketing, and so one more. So in our Master of Finance, definitely we will align our units, each unit to each of the topics will be covered in the CFA level 1 examinations. So upon the completion of Master of Finance, so hopefully most of students should be able to pass the CFA level 1 exam.
What about the Master of Banking and Finance?
The same. Master of Banking Finance, as mentioned, we have 3 specializations, right? Yeah. For the Master of Financial Management, it's pretty much aligned to the CFA examinations.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's like putting 2 birds to 1 stone. Yeah. And would be great in having CFA exam results as well. So one last question before I open up the floor for questions from our students here today. Yeah. What are the career options for Master Finance, Banking, Finance graduates?
Actually, our programs, the potential careers is very broad. Because we have different specializations, right? So it depends on students' interest, but mostly students are able to go to the financial institutions, right? Yeah. And also for the companies or listed companies, right? Who have, for example, credit analysis department or environmental planning department, or they can also go to the hedge funds. Mutual funds, those investment banking industry. Mm-hmm. And in terms of the salary, I think upon the graduation, it varies, but the entry level is from 60K to 80K. That's the entry level. Yep. And if you, in the future, if you become a fund manager, the salary could be up to 300,000, even more.
Wow, yeah. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for all of the information today. So I guess we'll be opening up the floor for questions now. Yeah. If you have any questions, please type into the Q&A section on the Zoom webinar, and we'll be addressing them as we go along. So we have our first question coming through already. So the question is, how diverse will my classmates be?
It's very diversified.
Yeah.
I would say our class in the Master of Banking Finance and Master of Finance are very diversified. People from all around the world. We also have some local students and also students from Asia, from Africa, from Europe, from US, from North America. It's a very mixed class, right? Yeah. So I think if you can come, you can have a very good experience, a multicultural experience with people, with students from different cultures, from different countries. It's good for students actually exposed to themselves to a multicultural environment, because Australia is a multicultural country, right? Yeah. So if you expose yourself into this environment in the class, then it's easier for you to adapt this multicultural environment in the future in the industry.
Wow, that's awesome. I have one more question coming through here. Yeah. So why should I choose Macquarie University to study finance over other universities in Australia? Okay,
first of all, if you look at the QS, the newest QS ranking, finance, accounting, and Macquarie University is ranked top 100 banking and finance subject all around the world. So which means it's a top 2% best university in banking and finance all over the world. And another thing is Macquarie University, Master of Banking and Finance and Master of Finance is one of the universities in Australia to incorporate fintech and environmental finance into our programs. So not many other universities in Australia, they teach especially the fintech specializations or environmental specializations. You can see that all these specializations are very practical, right? So, and again, it's a combination of very theoretic and practical skills.
Yes, that's awesome. So I guess the next question that we have here is, you mentioned CFA before, but what other industry partners do we partner with in creating our courses in finance?
Industry partners,
Yeah.
Okay, to studying. Don't quite get this question, what industry partners?
So do we have like the people that we invite into for guest lectures, the people that we partner with for internship provision? Yeah.
Okay, I mentioned this earlier actually. There's one unit called finance internship, right?
Yeah.
So with this one, definitely we will send students to our partner companies.
Yeah.
And to work there for about 2 months as the first thing. And then we invite people from a different background to give students guest lecturers.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. We have a very good question coming here from Sagar. Which major has more job scope globally? Environmental finance, fintech, or financial management?
It's hard to say, actually. It's based on your personal interest. Actually, if you have a good sense of computing, I would say, probably you go for fintech, right? It's more technique-based specializations, right? But if you have a sense of like environmental issues, and then probably you can go for the environmental finance, right? But if you're into a more traditional finance, then financial management is a good choice, right? So it really depends on what you're after and what's your interest in. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in Australia, there's been like a really massive rise of fintech companies in the startup scene in Australia. This will be a good option if you're into the technology, new innovations. I'll consider fintech as your choice in the Master of Banking and Finance.
Yes. Exactly.
So we'll take one last question before we close off the webinar today. So there's a question coming in about, are there any scholarships available for the Banking and Finance course? If yes, when do the application start? So I guess I'll just take this question.
Yeah, sure.
So we have a range of very generous scholarship programs for students from all around the world to Macquarie University. So when you apply for our course and get an offer, you either get an automatic scholarship attached to your offer letter. And if there's any other range of merit-based scholarship, you can go online to the website, and then we'll display all the information on the website with our scholarship regarding our range of scholarships for international students. And I think also when you study your course at Macquarie, if you actually do well, you actually get an academic prize as well for the units. It's a very nice merit award if you do well in your units at Macquarie University. So that was our last question for today. Thank you so much for joining us for the webinar. We will send you a recording of this webinar today to your email address. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email us and we'll get back to you with the answer. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time today as well.
My pleasure. Thank you guys. Hope to see you at Macquarie University in the future.
Sydney, Australia. Yes. Bye.